Today we have Miss Tika Green. Ms. Green is an employee of Sister Care. Ms. Green worked for Sister Care for the past year and a half. She's currently working on her degree at Limestone in social work. So without any further ado, we have Ms. Tika Green. Ms. Green, all yours.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
As he said, I work for Sister Care. I'm actually housed here in the courthouse on the first floor. I work as a court advocate. And what that really means is I pretty much assist the victims that need to go through the legal system with family court. So I work in connection with family court in regards to getting them orders of protections. And just going through the process with them, making sure they understand everything. Because pretty much if they go to family court, they can always go to family court and get the paperwork. But the difference is I actually sit down with them and make sure they understand what it is they're signing and just understand the whole process pretty much with them. At Sister Care, we actually have 3 shelters between Lexington and Columbia that house anywhere between 18 to 25 people at a time. We have males even up to age 21 that could come in with their mom. As far as services, we offer legal services. We offer what I do, court advocacy. We have counseling, we have shelters, what else? And permanent housing. And these are just resources available for victims and their children. Actually, I want to get y'all involved just a little bit in regards to domestic violence. I'm going to touch a little bit on that, being that that's my area, what I see every day. There are a lot of myths out there about domestic violence as far as what it is and what people think about it. The first thing is, well, this is the part I'm going to get y'all involved in. Battered women. Do you think that they're crazy for basically staying? A lot of people say that. So what's your take on it?
Depends on her situation. A lot of them stay because they can't do better.
I wouldn't say crazy. It's probably not the most rational thing to do. But what little I've read, there are a lot of other factors that come into play.
Probably mostly emotional ties too.
Yeah, emotional.
Strange psychology that goes on there.
Feelings of self-worth or lack thereof.
And if there are children involved, that's the #1 concern. Where would she go?
Okay.
The safety issue.
And that's good. I just want to see where y'all are at because, I honestly, I said that before I even got in the field, I would ask, okay, so what is the problem? Why can't she just leave? So now I understand, much more why they can't. And all of y'all were right, really, because we don't know their situation. They have children they have to think about. A lot of them are isolated from money, from their family, and they have nowhere to go.
Well, and just fear. I mean, the abusers can tell them, I'm going to hurt the children if you try to go somewhere, or I will find you. You can't go anywhere that I can't find you. And the fear factor.
Also read with a lot of these women, some often think it's their fault. That they can just somehow be good girls, or somehow manage the situation better, they'll be okay.
Yeah,
usually he tells her that. Too.
I'm sure.
Sometimes the more abused they are, the more they cling to their abuser.
Yeah. All of y'all right? That's right. As far as middle class women, do you think middle class women get abused more than I would say poor women?
More than
Yeah,
equal
no,
amount.
equal amount.
There's no dollar on the abuser.
Yeah, and that's right too. I mean,
They may have more resources available to them,
Right.
monetarily to get away.
But they also have more expectations out there, so they don't want to tell anybody what's going on.
Yeah. So it happens to everybody. It doesn't matter what color you are, how many degrees you have, what's your status. It doesn't matter. How about religious leaders? Do you think religious leaders actually victimize people or are actually victims of domestic violence?
Yeah.
Yeah, like anybody else.
Okay.
Remember
Just seeing
the-
where y'all are at, is you'll be amazed what I hear. Do you think drinking and alcohol actually causes this abuse?
No, power and control.
Jan,
It enhances it more. No,
Yeah,
it's not.
you're right. It enhances it. It didn't actually cause it because, I mean, it contributes, but it didn't cause it because ultimately they have the decision to make, you know. As far as everybody being in the household, do you think it just affects the adults?
No.
Okay. And I'll touch on that in a little bit. And last but not least, are battered women educated, uneducated?
Both.
Okay. All right. And that's right. Because, I mean, I've seen people with how many degrees, doctorates, their income triples mine, and, you know, and they're in my office for this very reason. All right. Domestic violence, I'm just going to touch on it a little bit. It's basically, to give y'all a true definition of it, is any harmful act against an intimate partner or household member, and that includes, you know, the children too. It could be verbal, it could be mental, it could be physical, and the problem with that is defined. I mean, that's the true definition of it. But in the court system, when you actually file for an order of protection, the verbal really doesn't count. It really doesn't count at all. If a female calls me up and says, you know, I'm afraid, I need to file an order of protection, you know, I'm scared he's cussing at me, and I'm scared in that way, unfortunately, I really can't do a whole lot about it until he's actually made a threat on her life. I'm going to kill you, I'm going to strangle you, I'm going to whatever. You know, I can't do anything because he's cussing at me and she's scared. Or if he has, you know, choked her, hit her, anything like that, of course, physical, she can always file.
How protective are these order of protections?
We tell them all it's just a piece of paper.
Right.
I mean, we're very upfront, and even when we go in and the judge would tell them it's just a piece of paper.
Right.
Really, it allows, you know, him to be locked up. You know, he can be held accountable for it, but it's not going to stop a bullet.
Okay.
I mean, we're very upfront with that.
And I guess my rationale is that I'm hearing that anytime most people when they do these things, order of protection, it's more like kind of real combustible. The guy's getting annoyed and aggravated and retaliates in some kind of way. And most time it's physical.
Yeah. And a lot of people do ignore it. They go ahead.
well, I understand what you're saying about the limitations, but it seems to me that so let's say you have an order that says you can't be within 500 feet of the house. And so that's violated.
Right.
The woman then can at least call the authorities, and this is my question really, could she not expect some, what you might call proactive protection, because this is, the terms of the thing are being violated, even though maybe the actual harm hasn't occurred yet. But maybe it's being built up to.
It just
Will
depends on.
Police react to that
Yeah, they do react to
if they
that.
have, if the woman already has that order in hand.
And now there's a difference between orders of protections and restraining orders, though. Restraining orders are totally different. That's kind of out of my area, and it's a little bit, from what I'm told, it's more difficult. Now, our order of protections, they actually can be entered into the police database. So they didn't really just have to, you know, be with you to see that you have one. They can look in a database. And that's just like if a woman comes from another state, they can follow you anywhere, order protection.
Sure.
If a lady comes from another state or is getting ready to come, I make sure I tell them, take it to the police department and make sure it's entered in the system. So, you know, you won't have the hassle of having to show them and waiting.
What is the difference between those two orders that you just mentioned?
A restraining order can be You can get a restraining order against your brother. You can get one against your mom. I mean, you pretty much can get a restraining order against anybody.
Doesn't it
You know,
have to be
that's
someone you
threatening.
live with?
It didn't, no, not a
Not
restraining
in
order.
South Carolina?
No, not a restraining order. An order of protection is different. That's what we do up here, and it's between intimate partners. Your,
Okay.
yeah, your spouse, your former spouse, your girlfriend, your former girlfriend, a household member. Maybe y'all just have kids together. That's considered too.
Okay. So the order of protection, what's the difference in content and what, in how the police view them or how the courts view them? Is the order of protection given through the court as well as the restraining order?
Well, the restraining orders are given through magistrate court.
Okay.
And these are given up here through the courts, and these are more effective.
Okay.
And even when, you know, the women go to magistrate, they tell them, go get an order of protection, because they protect you more than a restraining order would. And, you know, it follows you. If you move, it'll follow you.
I know a restraining order sometimes will have an effect too. Because as you said, it can be anybody. Someone who's stalking you, vandalizing your car.
Yeah.
Just like a neighbor down the street, messing up your lawn, anything.
Right.
And the effect that it has is that a lot of people don't understand the law. They think that a restraining order means they can go to jail and be fined. And in fact, I guess ultimately they can. And it does stave them off. Unless they are a mighty hard case, you can't stave them off no matter what you do. Then I don't know what you're supposed to do when it gets like that.
That's when people get killed.
Yeah, and that's when we usually say they really need to relocate. And, you know, I have somebody like that this week. She's completely she's got to go. I mean, she can't stay where he knows where she lives at. She has to completely move up and move and go somewhere else, because, you know, even though, you know, a judge ordered it, it's a piece of paper. You know, it is not bulletproof in the end.
So did
I
you
mean-
help her financially relocate, or is she going to go to a family member?
Well, yeah, I mean, I do as much as I can. I mean, that's not really what I do.
No, I mean
But-
sister care.
Not really.
Oh.
Not really. I mean, we get them, things that we don't actually do, we'll get them in touch with other resources
Okay.
where they can get help.
Transportation.
Yeah, and permanent housing and
Who
stuff
can
like that.
get- Can help them, or they can send them to another shelter.
Yeah,
Mhm.
if like if
Another
our
area.
shelter is full, we'll make sure they get transported somewhere else. So.
From a CASA standpoint, when we help to supervise or work with our guardians on our cases, almost all the cases we have, whether it's the mother or the children or even sometimes the father, I know that there can be domestic violence involved, but how can we advocate for children and mothers and fathers who experience emotional abuse? Because that's a part of it too, but there are no marks, there are no scars, and to me that almost seems like it's more of a hindrance, I guess, for lack of a better word, than the physical abuse. I mean, those scars will heal, and you can get the counseling and all that, but that emotional abuse, it's hard for us to address that in court because there's nothing other than a psychological assessment, you know, that how can we advocate better, I guess is what I'm saying when emotional abuse is.
And that's what I was getting ready to say. Counseling would pretty much be what I would think, that they will pretty much have to go through counseling, some type of counseling. And that's what we have. We have, for our families that come in with the children, we have in-house, you know, children's counseling, and we have group counseling for the women as well. And then once they leave the shelter too, we have follow-up counseling. So.
And then the court-ordered counseling is usually only like 12 weeks with sister care, isn't that right? Or do you know that's not?
I'm not sure. I can get back to you on it, definitely. Anything I don't know, I can definitely get back to you on. Before we get to the video, my next thing I was getting ready to point on is basically services for the battered women. Of course, we have services like ourselves that offer shelter and counseling and all the different things. And as far as the abuser, they also are usually mandated to go through a what is it called? I wrote it down. Basically, where they go through
Anger management?
yeah, for anywhere from 5 or 6 weeks to 32 weeks. And they have strict guidelines, and it's usually, either they do that or they go to jail or pay a fine. And they usually have a fine, I'm not sure what the fine is, while they're going through the program. So that's something for them as well. And even though I do, you know, my services for battered women and children, there are a lot of men that go through the same thing. It's not just women that are going through these, court-ordered to go through these programs. There, you know, I mean, men that are court-ordered to go through the programs. There are women that go through the program too.
Are there any such facilities here in Columbus?
Oh yeah. They're ordered. If you go down to Huger Street, where they hold criminal court at for these, there are a lot of women that are going through these programs too. They're
Anger
not the
management.
victims.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I had a few statistics as far as
Could I just clarify something?
go ahead.
So what I think I heard you say is that sister care services are directed to the abusers as well as the abusees?
No.
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
No.
There are ladies.
No, I was just saying there are a lot of
Ladies.
that, yeah, that are abusers.
Okay, and there
But
are
we
men who
don't.
are victims of
Right.
abuse,
But you don't take men into your shelters?
No, we don't. The only men, well, I guess you would consider them a man if they're 21, but they have to be with their mom. And that's on a case by case. It just depends on the situation. Usually they have maybe some type of disability. Yeah. If they're taking them that old.
How long are they allowed to stay in the shelter?
Just, that's on a case by case basis too. They assess what they're doing, if they're actually trying to do better for themselves. They just see where they're at. Okay, I lost my place. Hold on, let's see. I want to tie it into how these children, which is the main thing, are affected by this domestic violence. A lot of times there are children. I mean, most of my clients have children, and they're uprooted from everything that they know, everything they're used to. A lot of times when these women have to flee, they have enough time to get maybe one set of clothes. They don't have any, you know, time to get books and all these things. And basically these kids go to school, their minds are not focused on school, so their grades drop, you know, they don't sleep, they're depressed. A lot of times they don't want to even leave their mom because they're afraid that she'll get killed or that their dad is going to go, you know, to jail. At that point, a lot of kids don't even understand, you know, what he's doing is wrong. They just know that he's going to go to jail. What else? They do bedwetting. I mean, it's just a lot of different things, trauma, you know, that the kids go through. I was reading something that said that 90% of the kids that are killed in a domestic dispute are under the age of 10. 90%. And 10%, 56% are under the age of 2 that are killed. And right now, South Carolina is number 2 in the nation of women being killed by their intimate partners.
Okay,
so
wait,
we're
say
pretty
that
big.
again.
South Carolina is number 2
Oh, okay.
in the nation.
You said 90% of the children killed in domestic violence are under 10, and
Under
50% are under 2. Okay.
Yeah.
Does that, so you're calling domestic violence not only against the mother, but against the child?
Yeah, definitely.
You're calling that a domestic violence, though?
Right.
Okay.
You finished? Okay. Because a lot of times, and I've had cases like this myself, obviously I can't, you know, give too many details or names or anything. Well, you know, if the mother is not around to be abused, then who's the next person in line? The children. And, you know, and I see it all the time, these children getting locked in places and hit over the head and just all kinds of things happen to them if the mom's not around. You know, and even if she is around, a lot of times it still happens because she's too afraid herself. to do anything about it. So it's a bad situation.
I'm trying to, I have a case that involved an infant
Okay.
that ended up in an ICU unit from the father. And the father did plead guilty and got 18 years, which I was delighted with. But the mother hasn't gone to trial yet. And the mother continued to leave the child with the father and go to school and to work. And, you know, so it was a several, you know, couple of month period in between different things that happened, and then her eventually being taken away. And the mother's come to court. And one of the things that their attorneys keep saying is domestic violence, but there was no threat against her. So what I'm trying to do is figure out where that baby lies in the domestic violence.
Because he's a household
Column.
member. He or she is a household
Right.
member. And that's probably why they're categorizing it as a domestic
But,
dispute.
well, it's not, but her defense has pretty much been based on, well, she's a domestic violence victim. And he did, you know, I mean, she says that he did hit her in 97 or something, 1997.
Your question is whether or not the mother is in fact an abuser, or whether or not she's a victim herself. And on what
Well, I'm saying the
continuum-
defense kind of looks at, is kind of trying to say,
They're
well,
defending her, saying she's a
and he,
victim.
and
Is
he
she
says
charged
too.
as an abuser,
I mean,
or
she
She
is
is
it
not
an
charged,
accessory after the
she is
fact?
not charged as an abuser, she is charged with failure to get medical help, and she had her charges have been reduced, so because, you know, she had said she would testify against him, but her trial's coming up, and, so I just wanted to get some thoughts from the group on that, is that, you know, because it'll come up, you know, they'll say, well, you know, she was a victim of domestic violence. Well, to me, that doesn't give her the right to continue to leave a child in harm's way.
12 years, didn't
No.
hit 12 years ago.
Definitely not, because
Doesn't seem
Right.
terribly relevant to what happened in the last year. I assume this was in the last year.
Oh, yeah.
I only had one case where we had parents after each other. They weren't together, they were separated, because they didn't go after each other, come to where the other one was. And the thing that brought the case to the attention of DSS was one of the children got hurt getting in between them. And that was rather bad. And that's how the case came up. And I don't really know what type of criminal charges they were. I didn't see where any were filed. But they were, each one couldn't go around the other one. They had to meet at an anonymous spot in order for the parent, this parent visit, that parent, whatever. They couldn't be at each other's houses. That's that part of that at the end of the case. And the case didn't last long. It was very quickly taken care of. The child got hurt going in between the two fighting parents.
well, automatically, if someone comes to us and they are filing for order of protection, and the children were present when this occurred, then automatically we have to report it to DSS. So it doesn't matter how small or how big it is, we have to report it if the children are in the household when that happens. Okay. Well, I have a couple more South Carolina statistics in regards to neglect, abuse and neglected children. As far as neglect and medical neglect, we're at 71.2% for that.
71.2%.
Physical abuse, we're at 32.3. Sexual abuse, 8.5.
These are of the abuse cases that are known about.
Right.
Okay.
And psychological and any other maltreatment at 1.5%.
Is this a nationwide or just this state?
This is statewide, South Carolina. And I have one more thing before we get into the video. I do have a couple handouts for y'all. What we did in the beginning, the myth and fact sheet, is something for y'all to look over. And also another sheet, basically how you can pretty much help prevent family violence. Some things on there, some websites that may be helpful to y'all. But just keep in mind, if you do know of anyone that, I only have a couple cards, but I can write my number down for, I just have to order some more. I can write my number down for anybody that needs it, can get in touch with me, have any questions, or know of anybody that needs help. Just let me know. I'm downstairs, or give me a call.
Do you have the statistics of the number of women that are killed in South Carolina over the last, like, 3 years or something?
Besides the fact we're number 2 in the nation, I can get back to you about South Carolina as far as how many women
That's
are.
okay.
You sure?
I can look.
I
Yeah.
can
Well, I
get
can.
back to you.
I can look it up.
Okay. When you're approaching anybody that you know that may be in these situations, just try not to be aggressive. I know it's frustrating for us as people who know, I guess, are in a better situation where we feel like, okay, you just need to get out of this, you need to do whatever. Just, keep in mind what the actual battered woman needs. And some of the things this actually, and I don't have copies of it, I'll be glad to make copies for y'all. But validation, just make sure you support her. Try to give her hope. And the main thing is just for her to be surrounded by people who care about her and just gonna advocate for her. So it's just a whole list of things. It's just to keep in mind when you're dealing with someone, a battered woman.
And I think also that something that's really important to keep in mind too is that battered women usually aren't in harm's way until they do make the move. Mm-hmm. When they make the move, that's when the majority of people get killed.
Right.
Or hurt badly is when they do leave. So.
Right. And a lot of times, I mean, like I said earlier, if they have the means to or resources, it's best to just go ahead and move. And it doesn't have to be out of state. It could be across town. It's just it's not really good to stay in the same place unless he's in jail, for a long time, which some of them do get jail time like that. But even still, if the family's around, a lot of times the family's around, and then they can be a threat too. So.
And they don't want to. And if you put it on a personal level, this is like walking out of this room and never seeing anybody that you know again. I mean, that's how traumatic it is for somebody to make that kind of move.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's definitely not easy. But, they just have to, they have to be the ones to, choose their life. That's usually what I, tell them. To choose to live. Basically, this video just shows a little bit about how children are involved in these and how they witness these things and how it really affects them. And it's really short, and that'll pretty much conclude what I have for you guys.
Right, we can go ahead and just turn.
Enter.
Should be I think we just sleep right now. Yeah, we might. Yes, sir.
kids leaving to go on the school bus. And he said he was going to straighten me out once and for all. It snapped something in my head. And when I saw myself flying through the air in my dining room to the window, knowing I was going to hit that window, the thing I could think about was, God, I hope my kids don't see me on that school bus. I knew then that somehow I was going to have to find the strength to leave a man that I loved more than myself. Everything started at once, but it didn't start until many years into what was going on. It was a very gradual thing because I kept everything swept up. You don't know that someone is taking your identity away until one day you get small glass of orange juice and it's all over. Everything that makes sense 5 minutes ago doesn't anymore. You can't lie to yourself. You can't lie to me. You snap and nothing is the same. My world snapped that day. It didn't just stop when I lied across the dining room. It was the day that everything started. That was the day that I was married for over 20 years and I got look at this stuff. That was the day that nothing I spit shine and polish made it right.
There's all kinds of excuses that are made for domestic violence. Oh, it'll blow over. He really didn't mean it. He was just drunk. He was just on drugs. He just lost his temper.
Tell me why she can't be safe at home.
We have mostly men who are battering wives and spouses and girlfriends at all levels of our society right now. And it is a myth to think it's just poor people. A woman will not even call the police sometimes until it's the 7th or 8th event. They don't think the police will believe them. They think they're at fault somehow and they blame themselves.
Tell me why this child's not safe at home.
And children are listening to these meetings, the cries of their mother, and it terrorizes them and it traumatizes them forever and makes them feel powerless. And if it's a little girl, she just expects that's what's going to happen when she gets married. And if it's a little boy, he figures, well, it's okay to pound on mom. We need more people being part of the solution. If we as a community don't choose to see the realities of this, want to learn more about it, we will continue to measure our failures in broken homes, body counts, and shattered lives.
Why can't our kids be safe? Our home is where we should be safe. No, why can't this child be safe at home? I wanted to hide. Only place I could think of is under my bed. It was at nighttime when they was fighting. Just got underneath my bed. He hit my mom in the stomach with the bottle, and then he kicked her in the stomach when they got home. And he's made my family so terrible. One time he did all that stuff to me, and then it started to get really, really bad, and then finally I said, quit it, and I pointed the knife at him, but I just said, quit it, and then he did. I just had to do something.
much taller when the victory's won. And those who've been in darkness before know much longer. The light has come. It's a message every one of us must learn, that the answers never come without a fight. And when it seems you struggled far too long, just hold on. If you feel trapped inside a never